We have breaking news from the House floor tonight from indicted Republican Congressman George Santos after 2 resolutions to expel him were introduced in the House today, the first by Democrats and the second by Republicans.
Madam Speaker, on the matter of expulsion, we are now going down a 3rd attempt for a privilege resolution to expel me from the House of Representatives this week. Just introduced one earlier today, and just earlier this evening we had a second. Here's the case in point. In history, 5 members of Congress have been expelled. All 5 had suffered convictions in a court. All 5 had due process. This expulsion vote simply undermines and underscores the precedent that we've had in this chamber. It starts and puts us in a new direction, a dangerous one that sets a very dangerous precedent for the future. Are we to now assume that one is no longer innocent until proven guilty, and they are in fact guilty until proven innocent? And to set the record straight and put this in the record, I will not be resigning. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman of New York, who introduced the first of the 2 expulsion resolutions today against George Santos. Congressman Goldman, your reaction to what you just heard George Santos say on the House floor?
Well, George Santos is obviously not a criminal lawyer, because what we are talking about here is not a criminal case. Innocent until proven guilty is a standard used when someone's liberty is at risk in a criminal court. He had due process with the House Ethics Committee. He obstructed their investigation. He refused to provide documents. He refused to come in and meet with them, even though he was asked to do so repeatedly. So this is not an issue of due process, and it's not an issue of innocent until proven guilty. The question is whether there are sufficient facts that have been either admitted to by George Santos or found by the House Ethics Committee that have broken House rules and have made George Santos unfit for Congress. And it would seem to me that the only Americans who would ever determine that the facts of this case are not enough to expel George Santos are House Republicans who have protected him for 11 months.
The new Republican Speaker of the House, Johnson, called George Santos today, and here's how George Santos described that.
He asked me how I was doing and if I had made my decision. I said yes. I mean, put up or shut up at this point. All these members are pushing this. They want me to resign because they don't want to take this tough vote that sets the precedent to their own demise in the future, because they're not immune from all the nonsense that goes on in Washington.
Congressman Goldman, it brings to mind Nancy Pelosi's handling of a former out-of-control New York Congressman, Anthony Weiner, who exposed himself, literally, on Twitter. And within 3 weeks of Anthony Weiner exposing himself on Twitter, Nancy Pelosi personally forced him to resign. And so there is precedent in this, the sort of thing that George Santos doesn't seem to know about.
Well, and it's also an embarrassment for Speaker Mike Johnson, who has not publicly called for him to resign, much less for him to be expelled. Lawrence, and I know you've reviewed this ethics report. It is not just that George Santos violated just about every law and rule related to campaign finances and disclosure obligations. He also just simply stole money from his campaign. When I filed the original complaint to the Ethics Committee in January, I fully expected that there were significant campaign finance violations. But I never in a million years would have anticipated that he could have stolen nearly $200,000 for his own personal luxury goods, Botox, porn sites, you name it. This is so much more egregious than what I even anticipated when I filed this complaint. And it is long past time that finally, once and for all, the Republicans in the House of Representatives make a statement that there is some degree of integrity and morality that is required to be a member of Congress, and that political power and a slim majority does not always trump corruption within that Republican Party.
You are a member of the new Republican-created House committee that has a name that's actually a lie, but it's really the Hunter Biden committee. It's the committee that is doing nothing but trying to investigate Hunter Biden. Interesting twist today when Hunter Biden and his attorneys said, yes, Hunter Biden will absolutely testify to that committee as long as that testimony is public. What was the the Republican reaction to that offer by Hunter Biden?
Right, you would think that'd be great. We would love to have the witness that we've been attacking for 11 months come in and answer our questions. But they said they don't want him to testify publicly. They don't want the American people to hear directly from Hunter Biden. They want him to go behind closed doors where they can take secret testimony, leak misinformation, misleading information, cherry-pick information to paint this entirely fictional story that they have been painting all year. They had one public hearing for their impeachment investigation at the end of September. It was an abject failure. Chairman Comer is leading a disastrous investigation, and Hunter Biden just called his bluff, because what Hunter Biden will say will not help the Oversight Committee. It will put the final nail in the coffin of this bogus sham investigation. And Jamie Comer knows that. He knows that if this is public, he's doomed. That's why he wants to do it in private. In fact, what he really wanted was for Hunter to say that he would not testify, because his last-ditch effort was to claim some sort of obstruction, which would then somehow support his bogus allegations. But Hunter Biden called his bluff, and Jamie Comer and the House Oversight Committee and this sham impeachment investigation is running around with their tail between their legs. They don't know what to do.
Congressman Dan Goldman, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Okay.